guys, welcome back to another episode of The Vegan View. Today we have a very special guest that I'm excited to introduce, Ellen from Deity Rescue.
Hi.
She works with dogs and she's been vegan for a very long time, which I just found out, so I'm so excited about it and I can't wait to hear your story. So if you want, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into rescue and all that good stuff.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you so very much. Like, when I heard there was an opportunity for me to tell my story, I was just moved and excited, and so I'm very grateful. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've been vegan, plant-based lifestyle for probably longer than you guys have been on this planet. But I think it was 1992, the Ohio State University. Well, the night before was my friend's birthday, and we were out drinking. There was that late night White Castle slider drive-through action. Oh my God. I was so sick the next day that I was like, and it wasn't even the alcohol. It was the White Castle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it felt so good going down, but like it
not
was
good.
I
so
remember those days.
Mm-hmm. So that night I was on the sofa and I think I was watching it was 90210. I remember, actually, it was the night that Dylan and Kelly hooked up in the swimming pool. So
iconic.
Yeah. And then after 90210 was like 2020 or 48 hours, and they had a segment on greyhound dogs and what they do to these dogs if they're not performing. And I've always been an animal lover, and that just like hit me. That moment just hit me, and I'm not going to get emotional, but like it's still to this day, I was like, who died and made us God as to who gets to decide who lives and dies on this planet? Like, I don't need to, like, that animal, just because it's, not performing, doesn't need to, lose its life over it. Like, I had eaten meat, just in my family. We just, Pittsburgh Jewish dishes, my mother always cooked, and I always found myself like loading it up with ketchup, and now I know why. Like, I never really, it just didn't sit right with me. So in that moment, I made the conscious decision, listen, like, I don't need to eat meat. I can get by in this world without an animal dying for me to eat it.
Yes.
And from that point on, it was veganism for me. And it was interesting because, as you can imagine, Columbus, Ohio, 1992.
Wow.
There wasn't a lot of options. My family used to joke because I had an iguana at that time. He was a big, beautiful, handsome man. And we were on the same diet. We ate the same things. But it's true.
Cost efficient.
It was, I mean, literally, like, we would binge on frozen veggies, like with the assorted frozen veggies, and some of them had like beans in it, and like I would just like make that for both of us.
You guys just sit down and eat together? Oh my God,
like
one for you.
Crinkle cut carrot.
Yeah, exactly. He loved those. He loved those.
What's your iguana's name?
Well, I had him when he was this big, and he grew to be about 5 feet long. He would wrap around me.
Oh my God.
5 feet.
I didn't even know
such a handsome guy.
Yeah.
But you can't sex them until they're like teenagers. So when I got him, I named him Liliana Ivana Petunia Iguana. But he was so gorgeous and masculine that he just owned it. And he was always Lily.
I love it. I love it.
Shout out to Lily.
Shout out to Lily. I love you. I miss you.
So yeah, you really went through it then.
Yeah, back then there were no.
There really were no options.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine, and it's so cool that you just kind of came to that conclusion on your own, because for a lot of people, like myself even, it took a documentary that was so, like, violent and gory and, like, in my face.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, and I've never seen it. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes, you know, I've been vegan for a little over 10 years, and I'll find myself being like, oh, well, like, you know, I'll forget those things. And then I just literally, the images pop into my brain, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I get passionate and fired up about veganism. Because sometimes, you know, you want to fit in, so you don't really, like, want to go down that road with people, like, talking about veganism and stuff. But then I'm thinking, no, I need to be an activist for them. And I literally just remember those images and then get passionate about, like, wanting to defend them again.
Yeah.
So the fact that you were able to just, connect the dots without that is crazy. It's so cool.
It was definitely one of those, like, pivotal moments in my life.
Wow.
That, you know, you just remember. I just remember everything about it. So, and, you know, my father, every time I would get sick, my father, rest in peace, Daddy, like, he'd be like, you just need to go eat a Big Mac or something. Like, you need a little meat on your bones. And I'm like, no, Dad, I don't think so. I don't think that's what it is.
What was that time like in the early 90s in the Midwest? Like, just besides you eating your frozen veggies at home, like, what was that like? Were you the only vegan you knew?
Pretty much, yeah. There were no vegan restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there were. I didn't know where they were. But you're right. It was the Midwest. You know, when I drove to Columbus, it was just, you know, dairy and beef farms on the sides of the road. You know, it was a different time. I think veganism was just starting to become something, but there weren't, you know, you couldn't go to the frozen food section and, you know, pull out the vegan options like you can now.
Right.
They didn't have prepared foods like they do now. You know, there's no Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, I lived on, I think, Lipton rice packets and those veggies, my frozen veggies. And I would do dressing. I don't even think, maybe there was Vegan-A's back then. I can't even remember. But, like, I would just do a lot of veggies. And I do remember, this was the one thing, getting the protein intake was initially kind of a task for me, because I did get to a point where I was, like, just living on veggies full time, not knowing kind of the science behind it.
Right.
And there is kind of a nuance. There is a science. You need to be putting enough stuff in your body so that when you stand up, your head doesn't spin.
Right.
Or, you know, for us females, like, your cycle stays regular, that type of thing.
Totally.
So I had to figure that stuff out. And there was no Google.
Right.
Couldn't get online. I talked to my doctor and I'm like, listen, I don't want to eat meat. What should I be doing? And she was like, you need to make sure you're getting your iron, make sure you're, you know, getting all these vitamins. And it just took a little bit of finessing, I think, but it was doable. I just
Wow, that's so inspiring.
I know.
Wow.
So then what led you to dog rescue from there? So you saw the Greyhound thing. That was kind of what triggered the veganism for you, that coupled with the White Castle.
Yes, the hangover. Yeah.
And then how do we get to where we are today with the amazing rescue that you have?
Oh, thank you. I went to school at Ohio State for architecture. I was in Pittsburgh for a while. I had my own business, always entrepreneurial. Came out here. I had a job with a design firm, but I had always just made, like, art, and ended up working for a place called Sulip on Melrose Avenue. And I don't know, it became more of finding my way creatively, and I would meet a lot of people, and I realized that, like, I had this knack for networking. So when Facebook happened, I guess for me, I got on around 2007, I think it was. I kept getting tagged on all these dogs because I had always volunteered at the shelters. I felt the need to kind of hustle for the dogs at that point, and finding fosters for them. And that was a good many years. I was just independently doing onesie, twosie dogs here and there, mostly pit bulls from the Baldwin Park shelter in Los Angeles. I had friends there, and we just knew how to work together and get the dogs out. So in 2016, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I was home in Pittsburgh a lot. And my mother, who had worked for a cancer nonprofit for many, many years, we decided to go for the nonprofit status. And that became Deity Animal Rescue and Foundation. And it just went from there. And then in 2017, my partner, Lindsay, hit me up on DMs, and the rest is history.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's just kind of been going from there, and I just feel so grateful, you know. It's just, I feel like I'm living my passion.
Wow.
So.
Why is it so important to adopt? I mean, I think we know why, but I'm sure there are people watching who are like, well, what's the big deal if the dog's already, you know, born? Then why can't I just buy from a breeder? Why do I need to adopt from a rescue or a shelter?
There's a couple ways I'm going to answer that question. I think the biggest thing is kind of what you said, like the dogs are already born. These animals are not asking to be born, especially the ones that come from homes where people are opting not to spay and neuter their pets. And we end up with an overpet population that lands in our shelters and lands them, if they don't get rescued or adopted, euthanized. You know, especially here in the big cities, that problem is just in the millions and millions of dogs and cats and animals in the shelter. I think the statistic is for every dog from a breeder that gets purchased, 2 die in the shelter, something like that. The other thing I will say is that for every breed that you're specifically looking for, there is a rescue. And walk the kennels of your shelters, because the other day we were, where were we? South LA shelter. There was a puppy Weimaraner, purebred, staring there looking at us. Owner surrender. Because a large breed puppy ain't easy, and some people can't decide not to do it. So there you go, $1,000 worth of dog sitting right there ready to be adopted.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like a lot of people don't know why it's so important to adopt, and I feel like, you know, getting a specific kind of dog and like from breeders and stuff has become such like a cool thing, like, oh, I want this specific dog, oh, I need to find a breeder. So I love that you touched on that.
The other thing I will speak to with what you just said is a lot of these designer dogs, especially the ones right now, when they are breeding them, they're breeding them for their, you know, beautiful
physical features.
But with that comes the flip side of all of the genetic stuff that ends up sometimes is their demise. You know,
so true.
So
I've seen people that have like their dream dog, and the dog, you know, isn't.
So many health issues.
Frenchies, for example, are like the perfect example of a dog that's so cute, but they have breathing problems. Their bodies are not built to sustain, like they almost always have spinal issues.
They lose the use of their back legs often at a young age.
So I have a former coworker who really wanted a Frenchie, and I was like, you know, there's rescues that are maybe like specifically Frenchie, or if like you find shelters around LA, like I'm sure you could find, I can even help you. No, like I know this breeder, like really want. So it's just like that mentality. So he ended up buying this dog.
But I've heard of some of them based on their coloring will cost up to $10,000. And people just do that blindly, not understanding.
It's like a fashion statement.
It's an accessory.
Right. So saw him before the pandemic. Then he started working somewhere else, and then just recently, like a couple months ago, saw him for like a work get together. I was like, oh, how's the name of the dog is Gretzky. So Adam, if you're watching.
Not to call you out.
After Wayne Gretzky, perhaps?
Yes. Exactly. So the dog's name is Gretzky, cutest dog. Told me that he had like a walking issue and wasn't sure if he was going to be able to walk anymore. because of X, Y, and Z. I don't really know what it was, but it's like when you breed those dogs that way, like it's not natural.
I had
it's
a
not
friend.
gonna result in anything healthy or normal.
Exactly. I had a friend a few years ago that had a Frenchie, and he was literally going to the vet at least once a week because of issues. And it's like in the middle of the night, like some intense breathing issue or whatever it may be. And I'm just like, think about how expensive a vet is, first of all. And it's like, why there's so many beautiful, healthy dogs in the shelters that are being overlooked every day. Like, it's so frustrating. Like, in my neighborhood, I saw a bunch of flyers posted by a breeder that they breed, like, Frenchie puppies or whatever. So I DM'd PETA, and I was like, do you have any stickers, like Adopt, Don't Shop or whatever, so I can slap them on top of their little barcode? One day we were walking by, we saw it was ripped off. We're like, okay, it's cool. And then, like, the next day we walked by, and they had aggressively taped it around the entire pole with clear tape. It was, like, laminated to the pole. Yeah. And I'm like, how? I mean, you would think you walk by, you see your flyer is ripped off. Okay, why did somebody feel the need to rip off that flyer that I just posted? Maybe I should think about what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Like, instead of, like, continuing. It's just, it's so frustrating.
Aside from dogs looking a certain way, I know that's definitely a selling point for some people to go to a breeder, but I know a lot of people who will say, oh, well, I want my dog to have a certain qualities, a certain personality, and certain things. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that as someone who sees so many different types of dogs and so many dog breeds. Is that a thing?
You're talking to a pit bull lover. So, there are those features again that I understand that people just gravitate towards because, I will take those jowls and I will kiss them all day long. So I understand that, to each its own. People just, they gravitate towards certain things. But I would still say, listen, check out your shelter. Check out the rescues because it's an ever-evolving revolving door of whatever you want.
Yeah. And I personally feel like mutts have such great personalities too that it's like, I know people think that, and for sure certain breeds I think have personality quirks, like, Chihuahuas, they have their things.
Yes, they do.
They do. But then sometimes you'll get this like special magical mutt and you're like, I can't really place you. You're just a perfect little pup. Like,
totally. Yeah. I will say too, if I see sometimes that people will talk about a rescue dog and that because they're rescue they have behavioral problems. I will tell you that I have met many a Labrador Retriever and a Golden Retriever that have come through our rescue because they've been surrendered for being aggressive, for being, not dog friendly, for being human reactive, whatever it is. It doesn't matter the breed. It doesn't matter whether the dog was bought or came from the shelter. Just like humans, we all have our own personalities. We all have our own quirks, our own likes and dislikes. You can't put that on the fact that they're a rescue dog. They're just uniquely themselves, whatever.
God.
So
no, you're about to make me come to your place.
She wants a dog.
I mean, look at that little white fluff back there. That is a hypoallergenic, like big ticket dog.
Oh yeah,
that came from the shelter. Yeah.
And I guarantee somebody got him as a puppy and then surrendered him when they just didn't do the very simple things like take him out on walks and train him to go potty, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't know. I do see a lot of people, because I try to understand people's sides, because my mom bought a dog who was a puppy from a store, like before I knew anything about rescue, before I was vegan, and he was the worst behaved dog ever, and it's not his fault. And then my rescue dog that I found at the shelter, I didn't even have to train him. He was absolutely perfect in every way. So like you said, like you can't just like generalize and think that a dog is gonna, but people argue that all the time. I see it in comments, I see it in, and it's like, where did you get this?
Yeah, my head explodes. I'm like, think about what you're saying.
I feel like a big group of people, they get a dog and then they don't realize their responsibilities and then they give the dog up.
It's so true.
Can you like speak on that? Because I really want people to stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not fair to the dog.
Yeah, rescue or breeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you. It is like when you're bringing a puppy home, it's like having a newborn baby.
Yeah.
And I've had both. So like, luckily the puppy will catch on and be able to survive on its own before the newborn child will. But like, you need to know, you're going to be cleaning up messes. You're going to be up some nights if that puppy's crying for you, or, you know, just to be close to you. There's going to be shoes that are ruined. Put your shoes away. Like, give that puppy structure and boundaries so there's no surprises. It is up to us as human beings to set these dogs up to win in life. And when they fail and they're ours, that's on us.
Yeah.
I would love for you to touch on the many ways that dogs end up in your rescue, because I know so many people have this stereotype in their head that rescue dogs were there because they weren't wanted, they were discarded, they have behavioral issues, or, you know, numerous things. But I follow you guys on Instagram, and I absolutely was so immersed in the RV story.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just one amazing example of you guys, of the amazing work that you guys do. But there are just so many different ways. So I would love for you to touch on that.
That one in particular, heartbreaking on the human level, especially in light of the world right now. This was a woman who became unhoused. She was living in her RV. She started with 3 Chihuahuas. And she didn't have the money, she thought, to have them spayed and neutered. So those 3 Chihuahuas quickly became 21.
Oh, wow.
I was sent a video, and I'm watching this video, and it's these 21 Chihuahuas pushed up against the front of this little RV. It wasn't even a big RV, it was a little RV. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I just knew that, you know, somehow we needed to take the proper legal route to get to these dogs. And also, it was my gut that, like, telling me this is exactly, I already knew what had happened before even her confirming this. A friend of mine, her name is Lisa Guerrero. She's an investigative reporter on Inside Edition, and she and I were having dinner. And she has won awards for her animal stories. She's a badass. But I showed her this video, and I'm like, you know, I've called animal control. I'm waiting for them to respond, because I was happy to go in there and take the dogs, but we needed animal control, because it really was an animal control issue, to kind of be backing us.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm in. I can help you. I'm in. So what happened was, we got animal control on the phone. We said, listen, this is what we want to do. We're happy to take the dogs, because part of one of the legs of Deity is we work with Pets of the Unhoused, and just trying to keep people and their pets together, especially in light of the pandemic and, you know, a lot of the economic problems that people are having. Their pets are their everything. So, and also to keep them out of our shelters, to keep our numbers down in our shelters. So she and I met at the RV the next morning, and we knocked on the door. And basically, in our broken English and broken Spanish, she told me exactly what I had guessed, that she was scared that if animal control found out, they were going to come and take all of her dogs away and kill them. And we said to her, listen, give us the dogs. I'm going to vet them. We're going to spay and neuter them, so there's no more puppies. She was legally allowed to keep 3, and she knew which 3 she wanted to keep. And we're going to find wonderful homes for the rest. And through tears, those are all in homes. They've all been spayed and neutered. They've all been vetted.
It's so beautiful, yeah.
It was pretty awesome, you know. And that for me was so heartbreaking, because I mean, those were her dogs.
Yeah.
There were 21 of them. Oh, and 4 of them were pregnant.
Oh,
Yeah, that was.
Right, I remember.
Wow.
Yeah. So then we ended up with, I think, 41, because over the next 2 weeks,
Wow.
the mommies gave birth. 2 of them in C-section. It was lucky they were out of the RV because they needed to go to the hospital. They would have died in childbirth.
Oh,
Wow.
But yeah, to any of us who've had pets before, the thought of like those dogs being taken away and being euthanized, my heart broke for her. She was
Yeah.
doing the best she could. She was feeding the dogs before she was feeding herself. We've spoken since. She had an emergency once with one of her 3 dogs, and we helped her out with that. And we give her food when she needs it. She says she doesn't need things, like she's taking care of them, but I'll stop by there and
Just check in.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So.
amazing.
And were her 3 that were kept also spayed then?
Yep.
Neutered? That's great.
She let us take them. They spent actually 5 days at our vet, just because
on them.
just so they could start to heal a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we took them back.
Wow. That is amazing.
So amazing.
That was a heartfelt one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that got us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just following that, I was just like, oh my God. And then I was watching the moms, give birth to the babies. And I was just like, oh my God, they have so many. They're literally drowning in dogs. And I just know from fostering, like, how hard it is to find, like, people who can foster for you.
And because of people like you, that same day that we pulled away from that RV with the 18 original dogs, we called upon our fosters who dropped what they were doing. And mind you, these dogs were not socialized.
Yeah.
They were little chihuahuas with little chihuahua attitude who were like ready to hide in the corner and snap at you if you put your hand near them. But because of the power of fosters, like our fosters showed up. Some of them took 2 dogs. Like,
Wow.
we're just like, here. Everybody was just doing the best we could. And the only way we pulled that off was because of our fosters. So thank you very much.
oh my gosh,
Where's
I
Deity
love it.
located?
We are, we work out of donated space in Beverly Hills. We're very blessed.
Wow.
We are on Doheny Drive between Wilshire and Charlottesville.
Which we will bring you guys along so that you can see the rescue
Yes,
and
we're
meet
gonna
a
go.
couple of dogs too. Just FYI.
That's just such a great example, though, of like how so often dogs that end up in the shelter and rescues, it's not because they're not wanted or that it's anybody's fault. A lot of times it's just, resources that people lack or knowledge to get control of the situation.
Yeah.
And
We should say too, like, especially here in LA and in I would think that everywhere they would have programs and initiatives, free spays and neuters. So you just need to do the research. She didn't know to do the research,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So, but you will find that it is possible. If you can't afford it, you can do it
Low
through
cost.
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also another really important point is that when you do go to a shelter or you go through a rescue, you will get a dog that's already fixed, so you're not going to have to go through that. You're not going to have to pay for that on your own. All the reasons are there to rescue.
Yeah.
So as a rescue, what are some of the most challenging situations that you face and the most frustrating, and how do you overcome them?
There's a couple of things. Number one is, we go to the shelter and there's probably 20 dogs that we know we could do good for. Fosters. We need fosters. We especially need large breed dog fosters. And I'm speaking we as the universal rescue community. We are only as powerful as our people. To rescue a dog and then that dog has to then go into boarding is not, yes, the dog's alive, but we don't like to put the dog in boarding until it gets adopted. Of course, if it's a life or death situation for that dog and it's a couple of nights before we find a foster home for them, yes. But we try and go in armed with homes for the dogs to go to. So fostering is very important. And I would say the other thing that we've kind of been experiencing lately, and I think it's just coming off of a year of the pandemic, and as rescue, we were literally able to clear shelters because people were home and they wanted the animals, they wanted to help.
Yeah, some of the LA shelters were like consolidated into one at one point.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was amazing.
It's amazing.
So we worked our buns off and it was awesome. And then this year, now that people are thankfully back to work and back to life, it's just gotten harder, and a lot of the cases that we've seen have just been heartbreaking, and you get to a point where you get a little bit numb, and they call it compassion fatigue, and I realized that term is actually in the dictionary, like it is a thing, and I feel like that compassion fatigue comes from dealing on a daily basis. I told Lindsay, my partner, the other day, I'm like, we exist in this realm. Like, if this is life and this is death and there's this line here, we're like always trying to keep it up here with these animals. And it gets hard sometimes because then you start to reflect on your own mortality. Like it's all like right there. And I will say that I'm Pisces, I'm a very vibrational person. I feel like and you might laugh, the TV show or the show Stranger Things is onto something, the Upside Down.
Oh, totally.
Because now that I've held like more than a few dogs in my arms as they've taken their last breath, and we just sit there like for a while afterwards, like, the good news is I feel like that energy just kind of leaves the body, but it's still here. So it just makes you think of,
I'm going to try to tell this story without crying. When my dog passed, we held them in our arms, and that night in LA there was like a lightning storm, but with no like thunder, there was no rain, nothing. It was just like these like crazy bolts of lightning, and Hannah was there, and we just like, she was like literally like just there to like get as wasted as possible with me and just like hold my hand after it happened. And we're just like literally up against the window in my apartment just watching this, and we're like, do you hear thunder? Do you see rain? Like, nothing. So it sounds crazy, but like we were like, there he is, he's running through, and like all that energy, that like beautiful pure soul had to be released somewhere.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was without a doubt him. Without a doubt. Yeah. It was, I've never seen that before. I even like went on Twitter and like people were like, is there dry lightning in LA? What's happening? Like, it was him.
I know.
Totally.
I believe it. So I know, I get what you're saying.
And there's comfort in knowing that, total comfort in knowing that. Like it although it's hard and it's hard on the system and it's a shock, it propels you to keep moving forward, because for us in the fosters, like, what we're doing is just so essential and so needed. Like, these dogs don't deserve to have their lives end or cut short. Like, they deserve to go on and live their lives. And then when they do pass, like,
know that they're loved.
Totally.
I know we've been talking forever, and we could talk forever. Probably. But I would love to hear, ways that obviously fostering is so essential and so important. Certain people I know they can't because of their living situation. Totally. What are ways that people can help with animal rescue if they can't foster?
There's a bunch. So even just sharing a post about a dog, I feel like there might be somebody, your friends, your family, your audience, that connects with the eyeballs of that dog and is like, there is my soulmate. And that dog gets a second chance. Oftentimes we do medical dogs, and obviously we can't do anything without our village. So even, $2 donation, $5 donation, if you're, it's like, if you're going for a coffee, like, send a coffee to a Starbucks to a dog in need. That definitely helps. So there's just on so many levels. Even just an awareness of the rescue community and the shelter system, and maybe when you are ready to get a dog, you'll know what direction you're going.
I think it's just so important to have those conversations with people, and I find myself in a lot of frustrating conversations with people, and their biggest argument about buying a puppy over rescuing is like, well, those dogs are going to be born anyway, so what's the difference? And I'm like, well, most of the time those dogs in the shelters are ones that were bought as puppies and then were neglected, so look at it as you buying a puppy if that's what makes you feel better.
And it's also supply and demand. The more we adopt animals, the less breeders will have a business.
Exactly.
Yeah, as long as people are buying, they're gonna keep breeding.
Right. Let's make breeding uncool. It's just a very uncool thing to do, and the trend is to go to a shelter.
It is.
Yeah, if
There
you
we
know
go.
someone that just bought a dog, look at them and be like, wait, you bought it? You didn't adopt?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I always shame.
That was a choice you made.
Interesting choice.
In my head, buying dogs from breeders and dogs being born that way is kind of the same as veganism, because if we're not eating the cows, then maybe they're not going to produce the cows. And that might be naive and on my little singular level, but you know what? It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Ties it all in.
Wow.
In the most beautiful way. Well, it's such an honor to get to chat with you.
Thank you so much for joining.
And
Thank you for everything you're doing in the community, in this world. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't
Thank
think
you guys,
I don't think
too.
rescues get enough thanks, though. I really don't. And I mean, I see it just working with a rescue myself that you guys, the compassion fatigue is real, and you guys deserve all of the thanks in the world. It really is a thankless job sometimes. And
Well, being able to come in and sit with a group of women and tell the story, just, it makes it all worthwhile. So thank you.
So much for joining us.
yeah, we will link all of the information for Deity in the description box down below, so that even if you're not in LA, you can help by donating or anything you would like to do. And make sure you follow them on Instagram, because the rescue stories are just so beautiful and heartwarming, and they're doing amazing work too.
And let us know your rescue stories down below.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Hi, so my name is Hannah, and I have been volunteering with Deity since probably fall 2018. I adopted my dog Oliver from Deity. I was looking for a small senior male dog, and I found Oliver, then named Prince. They had pulled him from the East Valley Animal Shelter. Through him, I kind of connected with the founders of Deity, Ellen and Lindsay, and it's been amazing. I foster failed in 2020 with my third dog, Margot, who is also a Deity dog, so I've got 3 at home. And then in addition to my work now, I sort of work as their director of marketing and events, still on a volunteer basis. I volunteer myself as a foster as well. And when you foster through Deity, it's amazing because they provide everything. We provide everything: supplies, help, information, advice. We cover any cost of, food, if you need a bed, toys, chews, treats, anything, we take care of it. So really, all your job is as a foster with Deity is to just be that safe space for that dog who has no clue what's going on, who just wants love and a family and a full belly and a warm place to stay. And it's really just so rewarding. And I know a lot of times, probably the number one reservation people have about fostering is they don't think they could give the dog up. And it's, I would challenge you to not view it as giving the dog up. It's more, it's like graduating from middle school and going to high school. That dog had that time with you to kind of decompress, to learn that, humans aren't scary. Maybe you have a dog or a cat at home, or even a kid, and that dog got exposure to them and learned how to behave around them, and kind of was able to develop their personality and just feel really at peace and safe. And now you are handing over that dog to the person who is going to help them have that feeling for the rest of their life. And it's just the most magical, incredible experience, and it's so special. And that also is a way for another dog to be saved from the shelter, because as a foster-based organization, we can only save as many dogs as we have fosters for. So if we can get the dog you're fostering adopted, then your home is now opened up to another dog who's been waiting to leave the shelter, who just, same thing, they need that safe space, they need those people who are going to tell them everything's going to be okay. This is Winnie. Can you say hi, Win?
Hi, Winnie.
Can you say hi?
Hi, sweetie.
Winnie is from the East Valley Shelter. Actually, yesterday, myself and Lindsay went to the shelter to pull a dog. We were looking for a dog who, typically when we go to the shelter, you know, Deity is an organization where we don't have barriers with who we pull. We don't pull based on certain criteria. Mainly what we do when we go to the shelter is we look for dogs who we can form a connection with. Quite honestly, you go to the shelter and you see this sweet little golden retriever puppy, that dog's gonna get adopted. But so we kind of look for the dogs who maybe might be overlooked. Winnie was in the medical area, and I think she was just back there because she's old. Not that old though, right? Yeah. She had been left at the shelter on New Year's Day. When a dog is left at the shelter, it doesn't mean that someone went and surrendered their dog. It means that they went to the shelter with their dog, dropped them off on the doorstep, and drove home. And so that's what happened to our sweet little Winnie here on January 1st. And we think she's probably 9 years old. She's scared, as you can see. She's still kind of figuring things out. She's really sweet. She just, I mean, as anyone would be, she's so confused. She has no clue what's going on. She, just like any dog, is so deserving of a family who is going to love her and take care of her and make her feel safe and cozy and special and comfortable the rest of her life. And so she hangs out in my house right now with my 3 dogs, and she's been wonderful. My only job, like I said, is just helping Winnie to feel safe, helping her to remember that she is loved, she is needed, right? She is valued, yeah. And Deity will then take the reins on looking for an adopter for her. I send lots of photos and videos to the girls to make sure that they get Winnie out there. I believe she already has an application for adoption because she's just so special. So ultimately, you know, no matter where you live, please reach out to your local rescues, you know, see if they have a foster program. It may seem really difficult to have your foster dog graduate to their forever home, but it is the most rewarding and special feeling. I promise you, you will never, ever, ever regret fostering a dog. Make sure you check out, like I said, our website. You can look at our Instagram. Our website has all the information you could ever need. We have our dogs for adoption. We have information on fostering, all of our items that, again, 100% of the proceeds from any of our sales do go back to fund our rescue and help us save more dogs like our Winnie here. I'm just going to show you around our storefront so I can give you a taste of what we have if you are ever in the area or you want to shop us online. All of the proceeds from all of the sales in our store do go back to our rescue, so 100% of your purchase is going to help us save more dogs. That's really important to us, and that's why we do sell things in our store. It's to help us raise more money for our rescue. So over here we have our apparel selection. This was a limited edition drop for a big event we had in the summer, and we decided to bring it back because it was so popular. So we have our Deity vintage line. It's these super soft tees that were drawn up by a local artist, as well as these really cute dad hats. Here we have our Be Their Voice shirt. Just a really cute, I believe these are in female sizes, so they're gonna fit a little bit tighter. And then we have our unisex, very similar, just a nice way to show off the fact that you are an advocate of rescue, of adopt, don't shop. A little while ago, we did a collaboration with a local clothing company. They have artists that will draw up your dog or your cat or whatever it might be, and then put it on a t-shirt. So we did our collection with them with 4 different dogs who all came through Deity. This one in particular is my dog, Margot, and then we have our logo on the side. But the collection was just kind of a way to highlight different types of dogs and show that, you know, yes, this might not be your exact dog, but chances are you have, or you know, or you have loved a small little dog who maybe went through the shelter, and this is just a way for you to kind of support those dogs that continue to come through the shelter that are tiny and crazy and bossy and sassy like my little Margot.
And can you buy these online?
These are available in the store, they're available online. So over here we have our collars and leashes. These are all limited in stock, so if you are interested, make sure you check them out sooner than later. These are hand-dyed rope leashes that we have from a local artist, and each one has a different little tag that we hand stamped on it, just for a little fun touch. And then we have all different types of collars. Again, these are all done by companies who are either local or small, vegan. All of our stuff is vegan. I'm sure Ellen may have mentioned that, but that's something that's super important to us, and we will not sell or use anything that isn't vegan. So of course all of these things are vegan. Something that has always been one of the most popular things at Deity is our candles. We have these candles made by a small female-owned business, and we come up with the names and the scents and everything like that. These candles are kind of a way to celebrate, you know, those fun moments with your dogs and kind of make them a little bit more palatable. So we have freshly peed on grass, we have wet dog, which is my personal favorite, dog park, garden sniffs, and puppy's breath. Again, these are all in our store online. We talk about them on Instagram all the time. In addition to that, something really easy and simple that we stock, another great gift idea, or something to just have at home because everyone can always use one of these. We have our mugs. This is our beautiful logo. I keep saying it, but it's something, again, that's super important to us. This logo was designed by a female artist. And then on the other side, coffee to the rescue, because we live, breathe, eat, sleep, dream coffee. Can't do anything we do without coffee. Really random addition, but something great for the home. We have these really cute dog pillows. These are something that you never really think of, but whenever people see them, they get really excited and ask about them. So I just want to highlight them and show everyone that, hey, these are from an Etsy female business. And then my, other than the candles, personal favorite are our dog tags. So these dog tags all have super fun, cute little sayings on them. I'm not going to go over all of them because I'm going to be sitting here forever, but I mean, have your people call my people. That is so fetch. My personal favorite, I'm lost, somebody call my mama. Love is love. Super cute, super fun. In addition to that, we have a couple of things on our website that you can check out. We have custom made jewelry, all handmade by our founders, Ellen and Lindsay. We have hand stamped tags that we can make for your dog with a special crystal, which all three of my dogs have them, and they're very cute. I give that as a gift all the time as well. And like I said, we're constantly coming up with new things to get people excited about rescue and, again, raise money for our rescue. So please, if you're ever in the need for anything, for someone who loves dogs, has dogs, wants a dog, check out Deity.